Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Wolf Johnson back again with another video. In fact, I almost forgot that this is a new channel. Well, it's not new. I've had some shorts put up here a while ago. I just forgot about it, but I was talking to my girlfriend and I was going on and on and on about wrestling, my love for wrestling. You know, you tell your girlfriend about wrestling, and I thought she was just tolerating it, but she sort of enjoyed just hearing me ramble on. And she said, "You need somebody to talk to about this." And I said, "I don't really need anybody to listen. I just need to talk." So she told me to post something, to post here and just say what I want to say about professional wrestling to YouTube. So, hey guys, you're YouTube and I'm Wolf. Would I consider myself a wrestling fan? I'm just going to introduce myself a little bit. I'm like a creative, multidisciplinary artist. I've got a poetry book published. I'm working on a manuscript. I shoot documentary style video. I take photography. I've been in the Rolling Stone. I make music. I do all kinds of stuff. But I grew up watching wrestling. I think the first time I watched wrestling, the earliest memory I have was sitting on my grandfather's lap, and he had on what I didn't know at the time, but I recognize now it was WWF Superstars. And it was, I don't know who was in the match on one side of the bout, but I do know Dino Bravo was in there. And I grew up a child. I think I was maybe 4 or 5 years old. I just remember that name, Dino Bravo. I don't remember anything about the match. I remember the blue trunks and Dino Bravo. And that big WWF golden logo. And after that, I was aware of wrestling, but I never really invested any attention to it. It wasn't until 1995 when I saw, because my friend Daryl, he invited me over. He said, "Come over, let's watch some wrestling." I said, "Okay." I know wrestling, I thought, but I didn't. I didn't know anything about it. I just knew Dino Bravo. And when I was a kid, we'd play fight. We'd play wrestling, but wrestling was play fighting. And they would assign me a wrestler I didn't know anything about. And I kind of thought it was arbitrary. Like, I didn't know they had their own moves. I thought it was like, you're just a guy and you're going to fight. It's basically like playground UFC. Street fighting, basically, for children. So I got to be, my friend Jake, he always wanted to be Bret Hart. And I thought, cool. And they said, you get to be the Undertaker, because I was the tallest. So I went in there. I was doing like side kicks, roundhouse kicks. And they were like, no. I'm like knocking these kids around. They're like, Undertaker doesn't do that. I'm like, sure he does. He's a fighter, isn't he? And they're like, yeah, but he's like a monster. And I didn't get it. So Daryl invites me over. We order pizza. We're sitting on the floor. We're watching Royal Rumble 1995. And I got so into it. I got so into Shawn Michaels surviving that Royal Rumble. That hooked me. That was it. He's getting eliminated. Oh my God. Grabs the rope, skins the cat back in, then eliminates the other guy. I was like, what? I can't believe this kind of drama exists in real life. I thought only movies could be like that. And that was it. That was the moment that I was hooked. Shawn Michaels skinning the cat, Royal Rumble 1995. And then I would keep watching. I shortly after that became aware of WCW. And I thought that was really cool. Because I was watching WWF and it was like, who was there at the time? Duke the Dumpster Droese. I got a big soft spot for that guy. And they had the Goon or TL Hopper. At the time, I thought, these guys are lame. Who wants to be these guys? And now, as an adult, I like, look, I got this thing going on over here. It's my gimmick. Now I look back fondly upon those memories and realize like these guys were contributing to an overall universe Now it's branded the universe, but I mean, at the time, you step into these different wrestling promotions, and it's still this way. But their mere presence alone on your screen, the time they occupy, adds a color to the world that you are immersing yourself into. And I thought they were lame. Like, as a fan, these guys are lame. And who else? The Godwins. Don't go messing with a country boy, country boy, country boy. Don't go messing with a country boy. Country boy gonna mess with you, or something like that. Big fan of the Godwins. Big fan of the Smoking Guns. Billy Gunn, Bart Gunn, let's go. Who else was there? Oh, the Body Donnas. And the Skip and Zip. First it was just Skip. And then I can't believe I've never sat down and actually like reflected on the fact that Chris Candido was a Body Donnas. That's so offensive to me. He did well, though. I didn't like him as a kid. See, I look back now as an adult and reflect upon that, and I think, like, that was stupid. That was all dumb. But as a kid, it was pretty cool. They did what they had to do, was make me sort of hate somebody and want the other guy to beat that guy up. They did that. They achieved that for me as a child. But then I found WCW, and I remember the first clip I saw of WCW was like, there was Hogan, and there was a clip of Sting doing a Stinger splash. And I remember seeing that blue ring, and it looked a little bit tighter, a little bit smaller, but everything seemed a lot like more adult, like more impact, more in your face. And I like their pay-per-views. I like just the name of the pay-per-views. Because the WWF at that point, even at that early phase, seemed a little like it didn't seem childish to me, but it felt old. Like traditional. WCW being the second wrestling promotion that I seen, felt fresh. It felt edgy. And when they would say it's where the big boys play, I was like, okay, well, I want to see more of this. So I wanted to see a lot more WCW, but I couldn't. I didn't have the channel. I lived in a rural area, so we didn't have cable. I had to basically wait for the pay-per-views or wait for my friend Daryl to tape Raw for me. But I would watch every Saturday morning. They had on, it was WWF Superstars, like the mid-90s version. And then that later became like Velocity and Metal and Shotgun, whatever they wanted to call it at the time. But that's how I would consume it. And the odd time I would find ECW. I'd have to get out the bunny ears, and I'd be like, I'd get it, and then it'd go away. And then I didn't know how a TV works, so I'd like knee the TV. Me thinking that, oh, I'm making the channel come, and so I'm just laying into this box, this huge, like with the wood panels and the crank dial knob, just laying into this thing. Then I get a glimpse of Rob Van Dam and Sabu and the girls. Like, so as much as I wanted to see the wrestling, I kind of wanted to see some boobs. You know what I mean? And I don't feel ashamed about that. So anyways, I wanted WCW so badly, and I started to see them permeate different media in ways that WWF wasn't really doing. Like, and maybe it's just because I was about to say, but this didn't really exist. Like the media that I was being fed to me because of my interest in WCW. Maybe that's because it was somehow curated, but we didn't have algorithms. Like it was go to the video store or select a channel on appointment-based viewing, and you would choose something. And at that age, I don't know anything. We didn't have the internet. We had magazines. Pro Wrestling Illustrated. Get that every month. And I just remember seeing on so many shows like WCW wrestlers. They weren't prominent necessarily, but they were there. And I thought, this is so cool. Like, I know who these guys are. And I'd look at my parents and the other kids. I'm like, do you know who that is? Do you know who that is? They had no idea. I thought it was sort of on the cutting edge of some sort of like secret. Thunder in Paradise. I have such a fond memory of watching Thunder in Paradise. Like I reflect upon it with what they refer to as rose-colored glasses, and I don't think that's a bad thing. I'll wear my rose-colored glasses because that experience of viewing something for the first time is tied to everything else going on in your life, and I will always hold that dearly. I'll go again. I don't even remember what his name is. Hurricane. And his partner, Brew. If you haven't seen Thunder in Paradise, it's on YouTube right now, the whole thing. The movie, not the series. And there's a bunch of WCW guys in that. I think WWF guys? Yeah, WWF guys. I don't know, wrestlers. So I wanted WCW, but I kept getting WWF. Watched WrestleMania 12. I think, no. Before I get to that, my grandma had a bunch of wrestling tapes when she realized I started to like wrestling. She had Royal Rumble 92. She had WrestleMania 6. And then she had like some random like TV wrestling. I watched Royal Rumble 92 and WrestleMania 6, I would say about 20 times in 1 year. A piece. Like Royal Rumble 92 is amazing. That's no secret. From Royal Rumble 92, I can with a tear in my eye. That Flair promo, but I was really excited for that because I knew it was older, a little bit older. But to see Shawn Michaels as kind of a bad guy and not that successful, that just blew my mind. I couldn't, like at the time, I couldn't think of Shawn Michaels as anything but the top guy. So to see him sort of younger was very novel for me. And I wanted him to win. As soon as I seen him, I'm like, he's a bad guy, but I just want him to win. Like, who's this Tito Santana guy? Get this guy out of here, okay? Like, Shawn Michaels wouldn't get eliminated by Tito Santana. That's crazy. That's where I became aware of wrestlers like Skinner. I remember him, and the Repo Man. I think that's the first time I saw Owen Hart. No, I seen him earlier. But to see Owen Hart, like as a face in that tag team, I think they were called High Energy or something, with Coco Beware, I thought that was so weird. Why is Owen Hart wearing parachute like wrestling pants, rap pants, MC Hammer pants? Didn't make any sense to me. The Rocket. But going back and seeing that gave me a new appreciation for Owen Hart later. I think it was important for me to see Royal Rumble 92 to understand already, to develop the curiosity on how did wrestler get from point A to point B. And those gaps weren't filled in for a long time. So then I'd watch modern day wrestling or contemporary at the time, mid to late 90s, and see Owen Hart and Shawn Michaels and like wonder if we'd ever see that again. Like, will Owen Hart go back to High Energy? Is Coco Ware gonna come back? Is Coco Ware gonna run in and save Owen Hart? Or what did Owen Hart do to betray Coco Beware? Like, these were my thoughts. This is what wrestling does. Then I became aware of like the barbershop, and Shawn Michaels was a real bad guy. And at the time, all I wanted was Marty Jannetty to come back and beat Shawn Michaels. Shawn was my guy until I saw the barbershop. Then I'm like, dude, Marty Jannetty's pretty sick. Like, I thought Marty Jannetty was just as smooth and capable as Shawn Michaels in the ring. Then WrestleMania 12. I think by WrestleMania 12, that was the first WrestleMania that I convinced my parents to pay for. Hollywood Backlot Brawl. And like the big thing is, for a lot of these, I didn't have the full story, the context of these things. But it's because of the highlights that they would have, the little vignettes before the matches, and because of the content of the match, the way they were communicating through body language, pacing, and those pre-match promos, stuff like that, the commentary. I didn't feel like I was losing out on anything. And so, you know, I stuck it out through the Attitude Era. I got into ECW a little bit. I like ECW a lot more now. I can appreciate it a lot more. I loved WCW. 97, 98, but I know people shit on it, but WCW 2000 to me is a whole trip. Like, I loved watching WCW 2000. And this is something this is sort of a way to frame what I think I will do on this channel. Is what interests me about wrestling is not like 5-star matches. Like, those are pretty cool. But for me, as a creative person myself, as somebody who spends many hours a day writing creatively, what interests me in wrestling is the economics of the storytelling per promotion. So like WWE has a way of telling stories. NWA, the Billy Corgan promotion, has a unique way of telling stories and presenting it. The aesthetic, I love the aesthetic. It's part of the presentation, right? The choice of, like, the choices of things that they'll highlight in commentary or not. Angles, interviews, big promo guy. Love promos. And I gotta say, out of everything, what I am least interested in, and this isn't a knock on it, I've just been watching for so long. The thing that interests me the least about wrestling is, for the most part, the bell to bell. And that's kind of a generalization, like a broad stroke. And I feel that way because in more modern times, not everybody, there are exceptions to this, obviously, but in like modern contemporary wrestling presentations, I feel like there's not that much being said in a match. There's like, it's a minority of the time, a small fraction of the time, that I feel like a story is being told, that the moves mean something. And I say a minority of the time just because, like, the sheer volume of wrestling that's available. And I try to give it all a little bit of a chance. And that's not for all promotions. Like, I remember I thought TNA in the early days, I haven't really been watching it now recently so often, but I thought like the early TNA, as crazy as it could get, did a really good job telling stories with wrestlers who all kind of had a different style. That X Division did and gave permission for a lot of unique kinds of stories to be told. And in WWE, WWF, WWE, like, there's so many of the same spots that it's predictable. And to me, anyways, that's not to say I don't enjoy it, but of everything, the matches are the least interesting. I will hop on to YouTube or wherever I can find like a clip of the show, and I'll just look for the promos. Basically, I want to see those stories moving in pieces, or I'll go to like the ends of matches for the most part. Not all the time. Like, I do watch some of the matches to see if there's any, to see if anything has changed significantly, or if the announcers are communicating differently. Like, I'm not shitting on WWE. It's just not for me. It doesn't interest me. It's too video gamey, in my opinion. The last great thing that I loved, aside from the Bloodline, from WWE, was NXT Black and Gold. I thought when they had Mauro Ranallo in commentary, when you had the Undisputed Era, when you had almost everybody who they would introduce, almost, if they got over with the crowd, it's like the machine got way behind them. Which makes me a little bit sort of disappointed about the crowd reaction to Chris Hero, because he's one of the guys, he's one of the wrestlers who I genuinely love watching his matches. It always feels like a fight. Feels like a contest. So the wrestlers, if you're curious, I know we're running on to 22 minutes. Oh my goodness. So I can just go on. The wrestlers I generally always enjoy. Matches with CM Punk. However you feel about CM Punk, I think when he's involved in a match, it always feels like there's a more prevalent story being told. Kenny Omega, same thing. He's telling great stories while still being like athletically impressive. Those athletics, to me, in the absence of a capacity to tell a story, or like psychology, I suppose, they're just like, they feel like tricks to me. Danielson, obviously, like all those guys, like the journeymen, basically. Samoa Joe, Cody puts on great matches, in my opinion. I don't know. There's a ton of guys. And obviously from the Attitude Era, like pretty much everybody, in the absence of, if they couldn't put on a match, or what may be considered by many people to be like an engaging match, they had strong characters, so they could fill that gap. They would still get your attention because these people knew who you are. They were invested in the characters. And so the technical ability wasn't necessary. I don't know. I'm going to end this video because I'm just rambling on and on and on. But I just needed to do something to get started. So next time I can come actually maybe talk about something specific. Anyways, if you're here after 24 minutes, thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this, maybe hit that like. Hit that. I don't think I've ever said that. I've got another YouTube channel with like 11,000 people on. I've never said hit that like or smash the thing. You know, never said it. So I said it. There we go. So if you want to do those things that you know you can do, I appreciate that. Leave a comment. Let's chat. I wouldn't mind responding to some comments. If anybody watches this, if I get 5 views on this, I'm a happy pappy. All right. Have a good night. Peace.
I'm a bad boy.